excited about you heading back to Australia. How are you feeling about heading down under for a tour?
Very happy because we came all the way for one show. That's the previously. That's the only time I've been. So it's a long way. It's the furthest I've ever been, just to play 90 minutes. And so this time we get to do it properly and go around and see everybody. And yeah, very, very, very happy. Very, very much looking forward to it.
When you came last time, you only did the one show, but did you get a little bit of a chance to look around the country at all, or was it just the one show, fly in, fly out?
Pretty much. We did this. We landed one day. We went up to Wangaratta from Melbourne the next day. We did the show that evening. Went back to Melbourne. Had a night off in Melbourne. Me and Johnny did, and then that was it. Flew back, so yeah, it really was just in and out. It's one of the craziest trips I've done in that. But we wanted to show willing. We wanted to let everybody know that we would come to Australia if they booked us. So and here we are now. So maybe it had a small part in that.
Definitely. So are you looking forward this time to being able to get a little bit of a look around? And if you are, what are you hoping to get around and see?
Well, that's a good question. I really don't know how much time we'll have because there's going to be a lot of traveling in between shows. So we will see whatever we can. But as is often the case, your focus is being in good shape for the show and getting there and getting what's done needed. So the other stuff comes second to that. So I really won't know till we're on the go. You know what I mean? But,
yeah.
I'm happy to see the people at the gigs. That's what I want to see most of all is the Australian people coming to listen to us play. So that if that happens, then it's all success for me.
It must feel good being able to get back out and do shows again. The last couple of years must have been pretty difficult for you because you are someone that tours a lot. What was that like for you having live shows basically taken away from you for 2 years?
It was absolutely bonkers and completely unimaginable. Yeah, I mean, I have always been a touring musician lifelong. In fact, it was like, was it April or May or something, 2020 was my 30th anniversary of doing my first gig, so I didn't expect to celebrate that by not doing any gigs. Yep. So, it was crazy. I mean, we have to be grateful that we had the pandemic in these modern times where we have stuff like Zoom and, good enough internet that I could do lots of live I did a lot of clinic stuff, teaching stuff through TrueFire that I work with. They were really great. I do a thing called Together.co, which is a subscription streaming service where you can hang out live with a roster of incredible guitarists. So thankfully we had all that, because 10 years ago, if this had happened, we really would have been in a mess. I don't know what I would have done. But I can tell you there's nothing like the real thing. All this technology is incredible that it allows us to reach each other and, get together somehow. But for the kind of music I play and how I play it and the kind of people I like to play with, we're an in-the-moment kind of bunch. You got to be there in person. And, I'm heavily recorded and put on YouTube these days, whether I like it or not. Like almost all my gigs are recorded and put up in their entirety. It's kind of out of control, but still not the same as being there. It's a moment in time to be shared between the band and the audience, and that's how we play. We play for the moment, not for the recording. Do you know what I mean? And,
yeah.
So for someone like me, the last 2 years was not ideal. But we're back. We're doing it. We're coming there. We're healthy and survived, and here we go.
The one thing I think I took out of the last 2 years, and I know a lot of people here in Australia have, is that we'll never take live music for granted again. I mean, I'm in my 40s. I've been going to live shows since I was about 13, and you just go to 2 or 3 shows a week. It's like it's just always been there. So when it got taken away, you realize that it could get taken away, and I don't think we'll ever take live music for granted again. Is that something that you've felt as well?
I hope so. I mean, I know for some people that's very, very much the case. I think it's been different for different people. I will say, for me, I'd never stayed in as much as I did during those last couple of years. I'd always gone out myself, and it did kind of. I did discover the pleasures of being home as well, which is that was kind of nice. But as I say. And in full agreement with you, it made me very aware that what I do relies entirely upon. In fact, as I said at the time, it made me realize what I actually do is bring people together, as best I can. That be that musicians or audience, but like that, it made me realize that was my real job, is bringing people together, because that is the only way that I actually can do what I really do, and the rest of it is just something to get you to that. Do you know what I mean? So it made me very aware of that. But it was also kind of nice for a bit anyway. I hadn't slept in the same bed. I'm used to about 100 different hotels a year. Yeah. So it was nice to sleep in the same bed for the longest time since I was a kid at my mum's house.
Yeah. What did that do for your creativity? I've spoken to a lot of musicians that have said being at home and not being out on the road gave them more time to concentrate on their music, and some of them have said that they've now got like 3 or 4 albums worth of music tucked away for the next few years. How was your creativity during that time?
Bit of both. Because it's such a long period of time, actually, you go through different phases with it, Yeah. So I'll say the first 4 or 5 months, I was like, fuck it. Excuse me, I don't know if I can swear on
Yeah, that's all right.
Forgive me, but I was like, fuck it. I'm off. I've never been off. I've never taken a holiday. I've never had a break. I've never stayed at home for 3 or 4 months in a go. I've always been going somewhere. In 2018 and 2019, I took a transatlantic or trans-Pacific flight every month, or I think except 1 month of each of those years, I flew across the world at least once,
Yep.
So I'd never not done that in 30 years of gigging, 25 years since I started touring, 97. So I was like, okay, actually, I'm fine with this for a minute. I've been forced into a sabbatical, so I was happy to not do anything for a bit. I'd never been off before. I'd never taken a break in all those years. I still played guitar every day, and I did a lot of online stuff, but to pay the bills, because that was an immediate concern, obviously.
Yeah.
But I took some time because, I'd got myself a little place to call my own here for the first time at the age of 40, 5 years ago. I finally had... after a very transient lifestyle. So I was like, I'm going to enjoy my little apartment. There's a community pool that I could go swim in and do stuff that I'd never done,
Yeah.
So it was that, and then you start getting itchy fingers, and okay. But so I'd started a new album with my trio in the UK that I'll be doing the Australian tour with, Johnny and Evan. We'd started that just before COVID, so that kind of... now we're finishing it up, because that kind of, when you lose momentum, it sort of turned into a demo then in my mind, it's like, well, now we got to do it for real after all that. So it kind of put the dampener on that, because I was going back and forth with those guys working out tunes, and we're not the kind of band that you can do it remotely, so I did a lot of stuff remotely during the whole time, for other people sent me some tracks, or again, like the traditional stuff. But my band, we have to get in a room and hash it out. We have to be there together. Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of... It's not send each other tracks back and forth. But then, come last year, where we still weren't doing very much at all, my drummer here in the US, my US touring drummer, he'd ended up building. We all had a crash course in home studio recording, so he built a drum studio. So yes, I do now have another album or the basic tracks in the can that we did last year, recorded ourselves for that very reason. So, like I say, it was a bit of both. I've got 2 albums in the works through this, but I also enjoyed not doing anything for a bit,
Definitely. So, Matt, you've got such an amazing back catalogue of music. How do you go now about putting a set list together, especially with a tour to a country like Australia where you've never done a full tour before? That must be quite an epic adventure, putting together a set list these days.
Yeah, well, I'm lucky to have Johnny and Evan with me, so those guys are like putting on an old pair of slippers at this point. We've been playing together so long, so I can call out tunes I can say, hey, tomorrow night you fancy doing that one, and they'll have a listen that night, and then we'll just play it. Like we've always been a just play kind of band. We never got in the rehearsal room and unless we were making a new record, so I'm lucky I can call upon them. Yes, a big bunch of material, and actually we're going to include a couple of brand new tunes from this new trio record on this tour, so that's actually a first. I've been reluctant to play new stuff live because of all the YouTube recording, and then it gets out there and you kind of wasted the whole putting a new album out, but we are going to throw a couple in there, so as it's kind of somewhat exclusive to our new Australian friends, their little special thing. So yeah, we play what I feel. Do you know what I mean? I never write a set list. Usually by the end of a tour, we've kind of got like a bunch of songs that we work from. There's a couple that I always do, they're my favourite of mine to play. And then other than that, I reach back and go, okay, well, let's do this. You can't do too many slow blues, so I have like a rotation of 3 or 4 of my original kind of slow ones that I'll choose from, and rotate it like that. So, but yeah, it's really Johnny and Evan. We play by the seat of our pants. That's the way we've always done it, and there's a chemistry in the particular lineup where it's different every night anyway. Even if we play the same songs, they come out differently. It's a very improvisational. We were a jam band before anybody called things a jam band.
Yeah. So, Matt, I have to ask, I know we're running out of time very quickly, but what are some of your favourite tracks to play? Because I'm going to throw one of them on air straight after the interview. So what would you say is some of your favourite tracks to play live?
The one I always play of mine is a song called Where Do I Have to Stand, which was on a record. It's on the Anything But Time record, but the live version from 10 from the Road, the live album we put out a few years back, is a pretty good representation of how it happens live. Yeah, so I always play that one. It's like that's the as it was once called by a musician friend of mine, my magnum opus.
Yeah.
And I usually always play a tune called Live Wire as well, which is also on the live one, but that was on Heads, Tails and Aces, which is kind of a New Orleans groove, but it's just the changes are really fun to play over, so I always enjoy that. And since I did it, since the last record, Hindsight, we've always played as well. That's kind of like the set closer, and live we have like the band take extended solos, and it kind of goes into a whole section. But yeah, so those ones are kind of the firm fixtures, and then whatever happens in between is interchangeable. Yeah, I think See Me Through as well, another one, Lay It Down. They're all slow ones. I personally, I'd play slow blues all night if I could, but I don't think anybody would come see me. So.
Well, Matt, we are going to throw a couple of those on air right now. So to finish off the interview, what would you like to say to everybody out there who is thinking about heading along and checking you out on the Australian tour?
Please come and do it, because I hope it's the first of many tours, and I know a lot of people follow what goes up on YouTube, and they have the records and something, but we are a live band, we are about live music, and there is nothing like the real thing, getting in a room. It's a shared experience, so please come and share it with us. It'll be I guarantee it'll feel good.